Wireless systems are simple to implement. They consist of three fundamental ingredients: the input source, the transmitter, and the receiver, the output of which is connected to a mixer channel input. Whether the input device receives a signal from a lavalier, headset mic, handheld mic, guitar, bass, or other instrument, the wireless system simply receives that signal, typically via a cable. Then the transmitter converts and transmits that signal wirelessly to the receiver, which is connected with a cable to the mixer's mic or line input. In most systems, it's very important that the transmitter has an unobstructed line of sight to the receiver. In fact, placing the body pack in someone's back pocket or holding the microphone at the bottom of the mic around the transmitter can easily result in unreliable signal transmission. The receiver listens solely for the signal in the frequency band that's being transmitted from the body pack or microphone transmitter. When there's a match between the transmitted signal and the receiver's ability to accept the signal, everything functions seamlessly. Keep in mind that most receivers have no way of determining what the proper transmitter is, so if there's any device in the same proximity generating the frequency that the receiver is set to hear, it will hear it. If you utilize multiple wireless systems in the same location, their communication frequencies must be compatible. Wireless systems that are incompatible might cross-communicate so that they receive each other's transmissions. This is an area that's gotten much easier to handle with the inclusion of frequency-agile systems. Most modern systems are able to select an available frequency band, typically at the receiver. Then it's a simple matter to set the transmitter to match the receiver's automatically selected optimal communication frequency. Wireless systems are subject to a series of potential problems, many that have to do with physical issues such as signal blockage due to a lack of a clear line of sight between the transmitter and receiver, or incorrect antenna selection or placement. In addition, battery management and level adjustments between the transmitter and receiver are crucial to getting the most out of your wireless system. Wireless microphone systems utilize the same principles as any modern radio station transmission. Radio waves. A radio wave is essentially a varying magnetic force in space. It's like a sound wave in that it's realized through a continual variation of energy. However, because the radio frequency is magnetic rather than acoustic, it doesn't require air to transmit sound pressure variations. There are two primary types of radio transmissions: amplitude modulation, AM, and frequency modulation, FM. Amplitude modulation systems are less common than frequency modulation systems. The actual specifications of the AM system are limited. Considering the maximum legal modulation, the usable bandwidth is between 50 and 9,000 Hz, and the maximum dynamic range is about 50 dB. A frequency-modulated radio signal uses a constant amplitude carrier at a specified frequency. Almost all modern wireless systems utilize this FM principle. Its potential for high-quality audio transmission is much greater than the AM principle. The maximum legal deviation from the carrier frequency provides for an audio frequency range between 50 and 15,000 Hz and a dynamic range of more than 90 decibels. There are two primary bands that contain the accessible transmission and reception frequencies: the very high frequency VHF range and the ultra high frequency UHF range. Low-band VHF is between 49 and 108 MHz. This band is not recommended for serious audio applications and is shared by cordless phones, walkie-talkies, and radio-controlled toys. The band between 54 and 72 MHz is reserved for television channels 2 through 4. High-band VHF is between 169 and 216 MHz. 8 frequencies between 169 and 172 MHz have been specifically designated by the FCC for wireless microphone use. These are often called the traveling frequencies because they're used in most areas of the country. This band can become very crowded. It typically consists of forestry, power station, and Coast Guard communications, digital paging services, and other business and government operations. In the ultra-high frequency UHF band, the low band is 450 to 806 MHz, and the high band is from 900 to 952 MHz, with the 700 MHz band already being designated as illegal for wireless mic transmissions in the U.S. Most wireless mic and in-ear monitoring systems in the U.S. operate in the UHF band between 470 and 698 MHz. The UHF band is home to both licensed and unlicensed wireless microphone operations. As mentioned previously, the 600 MHz band, by far the most commonly used part of the UHF low band, is currently being auctioned off by the FCC, and much of it will soon be illegal for wireless mic and instrument transmissions. The 2.4 GHz band is unlicensed throughout much of the world. Though these systems might encounter more interference from Wi-Fi and Bluetooth wireless devices, they are relatively solid and very agile. Establishing a line of sight is important in this band, and the 2.4 GHz devices must be able to change frequencies on the fly to avoid interference. They tend to offer more channels and greater potential density than lower frequency devices. Analog systems require that a process called Companding be used. First, to compress the signal so that it won't oversaturate its selected frequency band, and secondly, to expand the compressed signal to regain its original dynamic range. This combination of compressing and expanding is effective but not sonically transparent. It can induce noise and distortions to the original source signal. Unlike analog wireless systems, the transmission of a digital audio signal doesn't require companding. Therefore, the signal that arrives at the receiver is the same as the original audio that arrived at the transmitter input. A digital wireless system achieves a flat frequency response across the entire audible spectrum, at least from 20 Hz to 20 kHz, and it provides a potential dynamic range that approaches or even exceeds 120 dB. Diversity, also called full diversity or true diversity, utilizes two antennas to compensate for the problematic results of unwanted artifacts from the combination of direct and reflected transmissions. Both antennas receive the same frequency and silently switch back and forth to receive a constant signal from the transmitting device. Ideally, anytime one antenna receives a corrupt or weak signal, the other antenna will receive a strong and accurate signal. The stronger signal wins and the reception is constant. Lower frequency non-diversity VHS systems, which are inexpensive, can function acceptably in a fixed application where there aren't other wireless systems in close proximity and where the enclosing structure isn't metal. Most wireless systems cover a range of about 300 feet from the transmitter to the antennas. The range specification typically assumes ideal circumstances, but in most applications, transmission and reception ranges are very acceptable from all wireless systems.
20, 15, 10, 5, did he get there?